Hey everyone, I thought I would add something to the end here. So I posted this class a little while ago and got great reaction to it. A lot of people signing up for this class, a lot of great questions, a lot of messages. It's been really exciting actually. It's my first class that I put out, and I've since put out a bunch more that I encourage you to check out, including some sound design classes talking about making our own synthesizers, samplers, things like that. Please check those out. But it's this one that really got me inspired to do more of those classes. So I thought I would add some additional content. And in these next couple videos, I'm going to answer some questions and walk through them. So let's dive right into the first one. So our first question is, he starts with, "This might be a dumb question, no such thing, but I am confused with how to make the F sharp and C sharp chords in the D major scale for the homework. For F sharp, I have the A for the third and C sharp for the fifth, because I'm still counting the whole, or because I still counted the whole white on the keyboard notes only." Okay, so to answer that, you're partially right. So let's dissect this a little bit. How to make the F sharp and C sharp chords in the D major scale. Okay, so what we're really saying is in the key of D, we want to make the F sharp and C sharp chords. And he says, for the F sharp chord, I assume, I have the A as the third and the C sharp as the fifth, and that's correct. So let's walk through that. So I'm first just going to make the D scale here. So here are my notes in D scale, and remember the pattern. So D, E, and then we have a C sharp, because we have whole step, and then half step, whole step, whole step, whole step, half step. So that's all my notes of the D major scale and key, right? Because that means the same thing. So to make our F sharp, we need the F sharp here. Let's just copy this one out. So we need our F sharp, and then we're going to skip one, and then we're going to do the A. There's our A, and then we're going to skip one, and then we're going to do a C sharp. Now, so the notes that we have listed here, the F sharp and C sharp, so he says I have the A as the third and the C sharp as the fifth. So we look back over here, this is our root, this is our third, it's an A, and this is our fifth, the C sharp. So he's correct. Very good. And he says, because I still counted the whole white on the keyboard notes only. That's not quite correct, because we're not counting only the white notes, because we have two black notes in the key of D. We have F sharp and C sharp. So I'm not sure what exactly they're getting at by saying I only counted, because you couldn't only count the white notes and still end up with your F sharp and C sharp and be correct. Just remember that in the key of D, we're counting whole steps and half steps, just like all keys, and only in one key, one major key, and that's the key of C major, will we result in only white notes. If we're not in C major, there's going to be at least one black note, and sometimes more than one black note, often more than one. Only in the key of C major do we get only white notes. It's the only time that happens. So rather than thinking about white notes, think about the pattern. The pattern of whole step, half step. That's going to get you correct. Now, let's figure out our C sharp chord. Okay, so C sharp is going to be right here. So let's get rid of this and start over. So we need C sharp. And then we need to, if we want to keep doing this, we need to keep going up. So let's make our pattern again. So here's the D, so we're starting over here. So whole step, half step, whole step, whole step, half step. So I just did another octave, right, of the key. So now I have D3 through D5, 2 full octaves. So now I can see my pattern nice and easy. C sharp, skip one, E is going to be my third, skip one, and G is going to be my fifth. Now, remember, this is a chord built on the 7th scale degree, which is our diminished chord, which sounds a little funky, but it's correct. So if this doesn't sound great to you, just remember that that's the way it's supposed to sound. Oops, ignore that first little, let's get rid of this for a minute. Okay, so here's our diminished chord. That's the C sharp diminished chord, which is the chord that exists in the key of D major that's built on C sharp. Now, while we're here and listening to that, what practical use does that have? I'll show you one. Let's slow this down a little bit here so we can hear this a little bit better. What use would that have? Now, one thing I didn't really talk about in this class is how chords function. Maybe we'll do that in another class, but this particular chord sounds ugly, but it does have a good function because it's a leading chord. It leads us to somewhere else. So let's see where it leads. This kind of ugly sound has a good leading power to bring us back to the tonic or the root of the key, right? So this goes to a D chord quite nicely. So let's just spell a D chord after it. D, F sharp, and A, right? So this is going to feel like it goes to a D relatively smoothly. So here it is. Right? So it'll sound even better if we do that. Right? So all I did was invert the end of this and put that A at the bottom, and it feels like a nice ending to a song, right? That's the purpose of these ugly chords, these diminished chords. They really pull you in certain directions, and in this case, it pulls you back to the root. If I only play that diminished chord, then I stop it, right? There's an intensity now. There's a feeling of you want that last chord to happen. So that's the purpose of having those diminished chords. So I think I answered that question. That's how we build our C sharp and F sharp. So to the person who asked this question, you were right on the F sharp chord. The C sharp chord, you just need to do the same thing and probably go up another octave. That could be where you're getting hung up. And also watch out for your terminology in the way you're saying the white notes versus the black notes. Only in the key of C major are you going to have only white notes if you obey the pattern of the major scale and key. Cool? On to another question.